Hey everybody. So, my guest today is Guillaume. He's the founder of Lemlist. And in this episode, he'll be sharing the story of how he and two co founders grew Lemlist into $10 million ARR in just 2.5 years. So, Guillaume, are you ready to take us to the top?
I'm ready, Mike.
All right. So, first off, can you tell us a bit more about Lemlist? How would you describe it?
Yes, so Lemlist is a sales automation platform. Essentially, it allows B2B companies to get in touch with their prospects in order to get more sales. So we launched Lemlist back in 2018, and we're now just crossed 10 million in annual recurring revenue with users in more than 80 countries. And we did that with $0 in external funding.
Wow, great numbers. Awesome. We can definitely learn from this. So, what's the exact business model of Lemlist? How are you making money?
It's a SaaS where we have a monthly subscription fee where people basically pay every single month or every year if they want to take an annual plan. And it's pretty standard. So we have like a 2 weeks free trial whenever you start. And then after that, people can purchase if they're happy with the result they get.
So, back to the early days, how did you exactly start the business? Take us back from the idea to launch.
So back in the days, I actually had a lead generation agency. So I was helping a lot of customers acquire their own customers through cold email. So doing sales prospecting for them and booking meetings for them. And I was using pretty much all the tools on the market. And what I realized is that most tools out there were selling, this unique value proposition of being, like putting your sales team on autopilot. And the truth is, working from the trenches, I realized that it's not like this. If you really want to do sales prospecting the right way, you need to spend time personalizing, you need to spend time researching the person you're going to reach out to, because in the end, sales is all about relationships. So I started to think, okay, how exactly can we build a software that would push the personalization and allow people to build this relationship in a much better way? And with my two co-founders, Vianney and Francois, we started to work on this. And the I would say the biggest differentiator at first was around this area of personalization, meaning that the entire UX was meant for people to be able to more personalize and add things like videos or personalized images, which no one was doing at the time.
Amazing founding story. I especially love your quote sales is about relationships because that's so true, right? So, what were some of the early struggles in getting to a product market fit?
I think, like whenever you are in a very competitive market, the good thing is that the product market fit is there because you know that you have competitors and you know that they're already making a lot of money. So for us, product market fit, we knew it was there. But in our case, what was difficult is like to establish ourselves as a thought leader on the market. So I think the first step and what worked well because we didn't have a lot of money as we started the company with only $1,000 is that we ate our own dog food. So I knew how to do sales prospecting because that was what I was doing with my agency before. So I decided to use our own tool, do sales prospecting, and I would do campaigns and reach out to people in two different ways. The first way was the networking approach, where it's basically me reaching out to our potential audience and target. So, for example, head of growth, head of sales, of startups and SMBs, and I would reach out to them saying, "Hey, like I built my agency, generated millions of dollars in revenue for people. Now I'm building a SaaS product, and I'm trying to get in touch with a lot of head of growth and head of sales to basically like exchange about tips regarding like user acquisition. I'd love to have 15 minutes of your time, so we or 30 minutes, so we can basically exchange best practice." During these calls, I would do two things. First is try to bring as much value as possible by, sharing the knowledge that I had with my agency. And at the same time, I would see whether or not the person is a fit to become a Lemlist customer. If they would be a fit, then I would offer them like a demo and usually it would close. And if they are not a fit, because for example, they could be using one of our competitors, I would just ask them, what are you struggling with? What are the things, you would like to improve? And for example, it could be like, yeah, my open rate is too low, or my reply rate is too low, or I struggle with copywriting, etc., etc. And based on their answer, it would give me a lot of ideas to actually create content around their specific needs. So what I would do is write all these articles, and when the article would be written, I would just send it back to them and say, "Hey, you remember whenever you were telling me about like these struggles? I actually discussed with another like group of 10 people to understand what and how they've been solving these issues. I put everything in an article, so I hope it will be valuable to you." And with having this two approach, I would basically be able to create this strong relationship with people and start building a community around our product.
Wow, that's awesome. I think a lot of listeners will appreciate these lessons. What is the one thing that you would say has brought you the most success in either getting more customers or more revenue from your customers?
I feel like it's really a long-term game, and for us, it was really linked to the community. So the truth is, like, we started a community because I was the only one doing customer support, and at some point, because people were asking me the same questions, I was thinking, okay, there's got to be a better way. So I asked people if they wanted to join a Facebook group where I could answer everything. And at first, I was basically daily in a Facebook group answering all questions. And then I realized that some people, on top of asking questions regarding to the product, they were also asking questions regarding how to do sales prospecting. So what I would do is document everything, and every single week I would share the cold email and sales prospecting templates that I would use with the exact, like results that I would get in order for people to understand how they can reproduce this exact campaign and potentially get the same results. So at that time, you have to picture that no one would ever share their campaigns because everyone believed that it was kind of their secret sauce. And within the sales space, there is a lot of competition. So people really don't want to share their cold email templates. So for that time, it was very, very innovative. And by being super transparent, after about 6 months, I started to see people helping each other out. I started people sharing, like their results. And it was a great driver for organic growth because we had a lot of word of mouth. We had people recommending the software to others, recommending to join the community. And because we were like bringing so much value in that community, we were building trust with people. And once you have their trust, it's much easier for them to purchase your product and then become customer.
Yeah, perfect example of what a community can do. Well done. What is your most important acquisition channel to get new customers on board right now?
Mm. So right now it's kind of like split it into, I would say, like three main channels. So we have obviously like word of mouth that is big. We also do a lot of outbound. So we keep using like our own tool to generate like revenue. And on top of it, I think we have managed to build a lot of personal brands within the company. So at first, I was the only one writing and giving value and providing value on LinkedIn. But as we scale, I was wondering, okay, like you often see the CEO posting and sometimes getting traction, but can all your employees actually build their personal brand and help the company grow? And that was the hypothesis we had at the time. So I really helped each of the head of we hired to build their own personal brand. And as we grew, the entire company started to do this. And it was actually a huge driver of growth because by doing this, the outbound campaigns that we did were actually giving much better results. So just to give you like the kind of the process, what we usually do now is that we would add on LinkedIn the specific person that we believe that can be potential customers. Once they accept our invitation, we don't do anything for 3 weeks because we know that because we're going to produce really good content, they're going to see it. And when they see it, they start to get to know a bit more about us. And 3 weeks after this invite is sent, we start sending a cold email sequence. First an email, then a follow-up email, then after that a message on LinkedIn, and then after that another email, and we end with another LinkedIn message, and finally a call if people didn't reply. But the truth is, every time we reach out that way, we see people that actually know about us, and because that they've been watching the LinkedIn post that we made. So to scale this process internally, what we decided to do is that we have what we call LinkedIn buddies. So we put people in pairs in the company so they can each build their personal brand. So we're going to have, for example, one people in marketing working with someone in sales. and they're going to really work together to write the best post possible to bring the most value. So bringing value in our case means giving tips around, for example, sales prospecting. So it could be you could write a post saying how to write a really good subject line, and then explain the different things you can do, either make it very casual as if you were talking to a friend, so something like coffee, lunch, or things like that. Make it about a partnership, so it's intriguing and you're triggering curiosity. So for example, partnership between company name and your name of your company. Or make it extremely specific. So let's say that you've seen that the person went to an online event as you did, put it directly in the subject line so the person understands the specificity of it. So by doing these things, you provide a lot of value to your audience, and they see you and they perceive you as a thought leader. And we really try to level this up for the entire company and scale it in order to kind of generate this pure value, which ultimately allow us to really increase the number of leads we get either via inbound or inbound on LinkedIn, or the actual reply rate we get from our outbound campaigns.
Well, I have to say, again, a lot of value here. Awesome framework, by the way. Now, you've already shared some numbers when we started this interview, but at what stage is Lemlist right now in terms of revenue?
Yeah, so we just crossed 10 million in annual recurring revenue. So it's been 3.5 years, which has been pretty intense, and the goal is for us to reach 100 million in the next 3 years. So it's a long road ahead, but it's exciting.
Amazing growth. Well done. So, being one of the founders, what is your most valuable lesson up to this point?
That's one lesson is is tough to highlight, but I think the most important one is really around relationships, because I think no matter what you do in business, whether it's with your customers or whether it's with your team, what matters the most in the end is the relationships you build. So typically, with my co-founders, we have my co-founders are a bit older, they've been handling the tech side for the start, and because we were both really specifically working on a part of the business, them on the product and me really on the business side of things, we kind of as we grew stopped communicating because of the hyper growth, and we were too focused on actually the execution, how to make things the best possible, that we kind of grew separately. And we realized a bit later, as we were scaling the team, that the fact that we had a different vision of where we wanted to go was an issue, because we wouldn't spend time together enough to discuss, to communicate. So we decided to actually take a coach and start working, the three of us, on building the vision, building the mission, etc., etc. Talking also about our frustration, because sometimes you say things that people can misinterpret and vice versa. And really, for me, the biggest lesson was make sure to really communicate as much as possible with your team and with your co-founders, because in the end, once the founding team is super aligned, the rest is very smooth. But if there are disagreements within the team, it's often because something is not clear.
Love it. Great, Guillaume. Well, thanks for sharing the story behind Lemlist. Now, let's wrap it up with a lightning round of 6 questions to inspire others. Before we dive into today's lightning round, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Do you want to build your product the best way possible? Then you probably know that listening to your user feedback is crucial in building new features that will help them solve their problems more easily and thus making your product more valuable. Upvote provides you with feedback boards, a product roadmap, and a changelog to make the process of gathering and managing feedback a lot more efficient. You are getting a 10% discount on all of their plans with the code PIRATES. So go to upvote.com and start your 14-day free trial today. Now, let's go back to the interview. If you would start a SaaS today, what would be the first action to take?
The first action for me is build your audience, document everything, and show your true personality. Because in the end, even though a SaaS is a technical product, people buy from people. And the truth is that everyone can copy your features, but no one can copy who you are, your brand, and your story.
That's so true. What is some of your favorite software that you can't live without in running daily operations of Lemlist?
I would say like Notion is something that I use a lot. So I use it like to build our entire processes in marketing, sales, etc. Our dev team use it also like for product development. We use Slack a lot, and the last tool that we really love is called Lemverse. It's something we developed, which is basically a virtual office where, because the team is also like very remote, and it's a virtual office where we can just walk and see each other, and the camera pops in and we can just have a chat, which is quite cool.
Well, I have to say that does sound very cool. What about your phone? What's your favorite app on your phone?
I would say like Spotify. I listen to a lot of music or podcast.
What is your favorite book that you would recommend to people that are starting in SaaS?
If people are starting in SaaS, I would recommend to read. I really enjoyed Lost and Founder from Ren Fishkin. I think it's nice to see that what matters the most is the journey. You will get ups and downs, but this is really in the moments where you are at the lowest that you can get back to it and really like grow and do amazing things. But what matters the most is the journey, and this book is all about that.
Yeah, great book. What SaaS brand do you admire the most?
That's quite difficult. I think that there is a lot of work to do in the SaaS space, especially when it comes to branding. I think that Slack did overall a pretty good job in what they do. I also like the one that I really like though. It's I would say Webflow, just because they have like this funny tone, and I think that they understand that B2B doesn't have to stand for boring to boring, and that you can do things a bit differently. So Webflow is doing a good job with that.
And what is your favorite SaaS person to follow or read?
To be honest, I really like, even though I'm not a fan of their software, but I really like what Russell Brunson did. I think it's super impressive how he built a community. We can like him or not and agree with what he's doing, etc. or not. For me, it's not too much a question, but the process of how he built his software with no funding to more than 130 million in revenue and creating this huge community in such a little time is really impressive.
Yeah, agree. It's all about the value he's providing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, great, Guillaume. Thanks for your time today and sharing your story with us. To conclude this interview, where can we learn more about you and Lemlist?
People can follow me on LinkedIn. I also answer like every single message I receive. So if you have any question, always happy to answer. And thanks a lot for having me on the podcast.
Thanks for listening to this awesome episode of the SaaS Pirates podcast. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast apps, as well as on YouTube, where you'll find these episodes recorded in video. Also, if you're into SaaS, come and join the SaaS Pirates Facebook group. We would love to have you on board. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a review. It'll help us reach more people like yourself. Without further ado, till next time, take care.